Well, I saw Moana 2, and I think the fans are kind of overreacting on the reason why it exists. Sorry that I didn't like it as much as everyone else does, but I didn't find it good either. I already mentioned it in my Moana 2 announcement video that I wasn't sure if I wanted a Moana 2, but after hearing more stuff such as Moana somehow become the most watched film on any streaming platform in 2023, and that it was originally going to be a Disney Plus series, but then all of a sudden, the wrath of Hollywood executive demanding they release it in theaters as a way to bring the Walt Disney Company's profits back. Even though Inside Out 2 and Deadpool and Wolverine made billions of dollars, Disney thinks it's not enough, so their goal is to make the new era of direct-to-sequel films. Oh, and here's another thing that makes it even more frustrating. Disney's Vancouver, Canada animation division made the Moana series from the start, but when they decided to turn it into a movie, Disney had the nerve to slap their original animation studio brand on the film by saying, "Hey everybody, our main animation studio has made a new Moana 2. You know, the same studio who made the other Canada sequels from the past. It's totally not made from our other country animation division."
Are you nuts?
No, Agent Nuts is over there!
Let's get this review started. Moana is back and she's now a professional wayfinder and everybody adores her. One day, she receives a message from her ancestor that the future will end because of an evil storm god named Nalo has cursed and guards an sunken island known as Motfetu that connects with other people across the ocean. The only way to break the curse is to go through the storm barrier, and the mortal has to touch the island to raise it above the ocean. So Moana is off on another quest with a crew she brings along and her demigod friend Maui to save her people and the ocean once again. So I'll admit that I do find some positive things in this movie. I like the first and the third act. It felt like I was watching an actual continuation of Moana, with a bit of catching up on what she's been doing in the past few years after the first one, and shows a new interesting goal Moana wants to do where she wants to find more voyagers around the whole ocean. The third act is where I mostly get hooked into the story, and while I won't go into too many spoilers, we all know that Disney will not do anything shocking to their main characters. And when Moana accomplishes her goal, I think it's pretty satisfying. I also thought the new songs were fine. No offense to the TikTok songwriters since they try their best to emulate Lin-Manuel Miranda's style of music from the previous film, but these new songs aren't nearly as catchy as the previous soundtrack. The only songs that I actually find decent are We Are Back, Get Lost, and Can I Get a Chee-Hoo. Get Lost may sound like it belongs in a different musical, but I did like how fast and upbeat it is. We're Back is a good enough opening number, and Chee-Hoo is definitely not You're Welcome, but the visuals are fun to look at. It reminds me of the visuals of Surface Pressure from Encanto. Speaking of that, the animation is good too. For Disney's Canadian animation division, the animators did a good job of expanding the world of Moana with a few new locations, like the giant clam prison, a great use of colors, the design and animation of the characters, and the special effects are pretty to look at. One downfall I have with the animation is that even though the new stuff they add is fantastic, the visuals are still look the same as the first. Let's see, what else do I like? I like the Stray Thrillers cameo. And that's the positives that I have. Now we are getting to the fun part of this review. While the plot is interesting, but much like Belle's Magical World and Atlantis Miles Return, you could tell from the editing, the pacing, and parts of the movie was designed as a TV series. The best example is how the first act ended and Moana goes inside the clam prison and encounters Matangi. Not to mention that the story kinda repeats the same plot points from the first film. And the journey itself is not that interesting, since they have to cram in a bunch of already existing episodes into a 90-minute movie. The story has to rush its way from point A to point B, and not giving you enough time to let the characters you already know have more development and getting to know about the new ones. I was so bored during the middle act that I barely felt entertained by the journey and the humor. And speaking of the humor, I found it to be pretty bland. There are a few jokes that did give me a chuckle, and the grumpy farmer and Maui had a few funny lines, but most of the time I didn't find the comedy to be that funny. Remember that Twitter joke from the last film? Well, there's a lot more modern talk in this one. Moana's dad showed her the hair whip, which I'm pretty sure that's been a thing since the day people exist on this planet. Money mentions fan art and fanfiction. There's even a monster who did the goat scream. Yes, they actually put a freaking 2013 screaming goat meme in a Disney movie. Why do kids movies nowadays still keep using this meme? Do they think it's going to be the new Wilhelm scream? It was not funny back then, and it's still not funny today. The Muppets are the only ones that finds a way to make that reference funny. As for the main characters we all know, they're okay. Moana is probably the best character in this film. I enjoy seeing her evolve as a responsible upcoming chief of her island and the Voyager Pro, and I do like a bit of her character development. Again, I won't go into too much spoilers, but I knew where they were going when a certain event happens during the climax. Maui shows up halfway through the movie, and while he's not as funny as he was in the previous film, he's still a good supportive friend to Moana. The chicken is still annoying. I'm glad that the pig finally joins in on the adventure, and he is definitely a tiny bit better comedic animal sidekick than the chicken. The ocean barely appears in the movie, which is odd since it's my favorite side character, but for being Moana's biggest ally, it's given the magic carpet from Aladdin 2019 treatment, where the movie calls the character for a favor, and it won't come back until it's called for another favor. As for the new characters, like I said, since it was originally going to be a TV series for Disney+, it gives you enough time to get to know more about their personalities and how they contribute to the story. But because that this is an hour-and-a-half movie, Moana's crew are just a bunch of one-note characters. You got Kele, the grumpy old farmer, Lotto, the fast-talking girl who's obsessed with crafting boats, and Mani is a Maui fanboy who studies ancient islands and legendary stories. Moana's sister Simea is cute, but she's kind of a pointless addition. She doesn't do much other than interacting with her sister and talked about how much she misses her. If you cut her out of the movie, then it wouldn't make a difference. But if you do want her to be important to the plot, you can age her up a bit and actually let her join in on Moana's journey and wants to follow her big sister's footstep on becoming the next chief. Sure, it would be predictable, but it's a good way to show the sibling chemistry between Moana and Simaya. Now the villains on the other hand, ho ho ho! Once again Disney tricked us all for thinking that we're actually gonna get a villain for once. Now at first we thought Matangi is going to be the next big threat, but no, she's just another misunderstood character. And I'm sick and tired of this kind of antagonist, unless they made it understandable why we had to feel sorry for them. She is stuck in this prison from the main villain and wants to help Moana and give her a motivation. And after her song, she's like, well, I'll see you all later until the mid-credits sequence. Technically, the real villain in this movie is Nalo, the Thunder God, and he's Taka but not intimidating. He didn't even show his physical appearance until the mid-credits sequence, giving us a clue on what his next plan is, which obviously means that they're planning for a Moana 3. And what makes this even more insulting is that throughout the marketing, Disney just straight up lied in front of our faces thinking that Matangi is going to be the next big threat. At least in Wish, Magnifico, while he sucks as a villain, he at least exists and written as a villain. Nala is just a lame version of Thanos who wants to keep mankind separated to gain more power. How diabolical. It's kind of ironic that Disney knows that their villains are one of their most popular IPs, and they wanted to do a lot more with them, like the upcoming Villains Land in Disney World, but they still don't get what made their villains special and why we love to hate them. You could have made Matangi be the main villain and have her be the one who cursed Nalo and wants to be the most powerful god in the ocean. That's an easy rewrite. Bottom line, the characters we all know and love are still likable, but the new ones range from meh to such a waste. Overall, Moana 2 is not the worst sequel Disney made. I mean, Ralph Breaks the Internet is still a bad follow-up in my book. It does have a solid message, but it wasn't enough to keep it from being a bad movie because of the forgotten rules that the first movie established and the flanellization of Ralph and Vanellope's characters. It's just a stale Disney sequel that's nowhere near as bad as Belle's Magical World and Milo's Return. It should have just stayed as a streaming series instead of being a quick cash grab, since Moana is almost as popular as the Frozen franchise. If you have kids who love Moana and wanted to see her go on another Big Blue Sea adventure, then that's totally fine. However, this is another example of Disney executives still desperate for profits and not giving their division enough time for good storytelling, and they haven't learned their lessons on what their fans truly want for their animated films. I love Moana, but I'm not that surprised that the follow-up couldn't bring up more expectations. And I know that the upcoming live-action remake is not gonna make it better. I'm gonna have to give this movie the Mushroom Medal. It's not bad, it's just mid. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, then be sure to press the like button and subscribe to the channel. And be sure to watch my other animation media reviews, a few gaming videos, and SMG4 related videos. If you guys seen Moana 2, then tell me what you guys think in the comments. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching. Be safe out there, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all next time.